NFL Week 15 is here, and we have a sub battle. We're taking on the Texans in Houston this week, and we'll be facing them on the YouTube streets as well. Jeremy Chugs, great guy, but it's F Chugs this week. Hit that sub button. Let's get it started early. You get Dolphins content all week long, but we also got to take down Texans today on our YouTube sub battle. We got some bad news on the injury front when it comes to the Miami Dolphins, specifically, and well, we're only going to really talk about it. Terron Armstead, the offensive tackle from the Miami Dolphins, it's not looking good for him. As we know that he did leave the game against the New York Jets on Sunday, he's been dealing with a knee injury over the past 2 weeks, and the news coming out on Monday with that injury has not been the most positive. It's been dicey, and I'm nervous to see if he is going to be able to even play anytime soon. And with Armstead being hurt, the Dolphins have to rely on a rookie at left tackle. That is Patrick Paul, potentially stepping in this week against the Houston Texans. Kendall Lamb is already starting at right tackle for the Miami Dolphins due to Austin Jackson being on IR and already out for the remainder of the year. We've documented extensively about how much the interior offensive line needs to be revamped with Robert Jones and Liam Eichenberg. But now that you might be down to your backup left tackle, Patrick Paul, and then right tackle, Kendall Lamb, who is already a backup, things could be dicey heading to Houston this upcoming Sunday. And I will say it's very good that he isn't done for the rest of the season. This is something that has been concerning. A lot of people thought after the game on Sunday that he could be done for the year. Well, according to head coach Mike McDaniel, who spoke to media today, said that it is not going to be season ending. It is not going to be something where Armstead is forced to be put on IR. It will just be a matter of rest for Terron Armstead for him to be able to return to the football field. And specifically on Armstead injury, Mike McDaniel was very complimentary of Armstead and his attempt to play through the knee struggles. He said that he was trying to will himself. I made it very clear. Don't waste your time trying to be a superhero. He didn't make a competitive choice that would put our team in a compromised position. And that's always the concern, right? Like, a lot of people always talk about this when it comes to injuries. Like, you want your best players out there, but if they are injured, at what point is a backup that is healthy better than your star player that is compromised due to injury? Like, what is the percentage point? If Terron Armstead's out there playing 70%, well, is 100% Patrick Paul better? Same thing goes for really any sporting event. We talk about it all the time in the NBA and stuff like that. If you are banged up and you play, I expect you to go out there and perform to the best of your ability. And if you cannot do that and want to make that excuse, well, then you should not be out there, and I'll take the backup. But having Armstead out for this game against the Texans and maybe a week after that as well against the 49ers, it's a big loss. Terron Armstead has been the second best offensive tackle according to Pro Football Focus this year. He has an overall grade of 91.2, and it's hard to deny that when he's only allowed 1 sack all season long. He's only been flagged for 1 penalty. And then when you look at the grading system even more from PFF, 87.5 pass blocking, 86.7 run blocking. This guy has been sensational in a year that we didn't even know if he was going to be here. We thought he could retire last offseason. He ultimately comes back. He's been out there for most of the year, and then we probably think he's going to retire after this season because his body is just breaking down. But we talked about it a little bit earlier. Patrick Paul, the top 55 pick out of Houston this past April in the second round, is going to be that next man up. Isaiah Wynn and Jackson Carman are also there, but it will be Paul. It's the reason why you drafted him in the second round in late April. You drafted him to be the long-term replacement of Terron Armstead, and we hoped that it wasn't going to have a lot of playing time this year, but we are going to see Armstead this week in all likelihood with him not being out there for the Miami Dolphins, and we've labeled it. It's a tough loss, and having Paul fill in, I'm excited to see what he can do, knowing he's going to be the starter all week long. We know he started 1 week earlier this season against the Tennessee Titans. That was a disaster of a game. Hopefully this one isn't the same type of disaster. But be honest with me before we move on. Are you concerned about losing Terron Armstead due to injury? Let me know yes or no down in the comments section if you're concerned about the left tackle being out for this game. I think you have to be. And although he has not officially been ruled out, it is like 95, 98%. And the reason why I am so concerned is because it's a terrible matchup. You're facing the Houston Texans, who have an elite pass rush. And Patrick Paul did fill in, so we have some numbers on Paul. And I'm sure later on in the week, we'll take a look at what he did against the Jets and his snaps and the tape there, as well as his lone start of the season against the Houston Texans. I thought he was fine, or excuse me, that was the Tennessee Titans. But I do think Patrick Paul was fine against the Jets filling in because he didn't think he was going to play. He maybe thought he would have to if Armstead couldn't go, but he stepped in middle of the game and performed okay. And I do think the Jets are a team that also has a good pass rush. You've seen them get after the quarterback with Hassan Reddick, with Will McDonald as well, Quinnen Williams on the interior. Like, it's no easy defensive front to go up against. I thought Paul held his own. The one penalty he was flagged for was an illegal formation, which I think was a bogus call. I didn't think he was lined up too far back at that left tackle spot. The run blocking needs to be better, but the entire offensive line run blocking needs to be better, if we're going to be honest. It just continues to be a disaster over the last 4 or 5 weeks for this Dolphins rushing attack. And the reason why it does concern me, and even though I'm excited to watch Patrick Paul take the opportunity to go and play a tough game, but this Texans front is just downright nasty, especially when you look at the two defensive edges, which we're going to talk about in just a second. But we are sponsored by Public Rec, and I got to get you guys hooked up with Public Rec, especially with the holiday season being here and in full swing. Let's be real, guys. Wearing pants sucks. Who decided that stiff, uncomfortable fabric digging into your family jewels was necessary to go out and look put together. Whether you're kicking back with holiday movies, making your way through leftovers, or watching bowl games with the boys, these pants have you covered. Heck, they'll even keep you looking sharp for that awkward holiday party with your in-laws. Give the gift of comfort, or give it to yourself. You love this holiday season with Public Rec's Daymaker pants, and for a limited time, you can get 20% off your entire order with code CHAT20 at publicrec.com. That's 20% off when you use promo code CHAT20 at publicrec.com. We talk a lot about the Daymaker pant here from Public Rec. That's phenomenal, and I tell you, get the Daymaker pant. But they also make other products as well, like this sweatshirt in here. I mean, this long sleeve shirt is just absolutely awesome. It's comfortable. It fits perfectly to my body. And when you combine the shirt with the pants, there is no better way to look put together this holiday season. Stop suffering in regular pants and give the gift of comfort this holiday season. For a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off when you use code CHAT20 at checkout. That's 20% off with code CHAT20 at publicrec.com. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Say goodbye to pants that put up a fight, because when comfort meets style, you found Public Rec. That link will be in the description and comments of today's video. Shout out to Public Rec. I'm telling you, those Daymaker pants, I wear them everywhere. They are comfortable, but they also look fresh. All right, as we get back into this news here and matchup, playing this Texans pass rush duo might be a disaster. I mean, they've combined for 20 sacks this season. Danielle Hunter coming from Minnesota to Houston. He has been phenomenal and well worth that heavy price tag that he came with in free agency. But also the former top 3 overall pick, Will Anderson Jr., who is Rookie of the Year potentially, and a defensive rookie of the year a couple of years ago. Like, he's been great this season as well. 9.5 sacks, 13 TFLs. They have a perfect combination of speed, athleticism, agility, and physicality. And when you're going up against these two, and you have probably your backup right tackle in Kendall Lamb playing, backup left tackle Patrick Paul playing, you are going to have to develop a game plan that does not put your concussion symptom like quarterback in harm's way to Tua Tagovailoa. Expect a lot of quick passes, expect a lot of screens. And that's something that we are used to, but we might have to even take it to another level this week against the Texans. When I looked at the average time to throw amongst NFL starting quarterbacks this season, Tua Tagovailoa ranks 4th on the list in terms of time to throw. And less, that is. Kirk Cousins gets the ball out of his hands the quickest, 2.88. Stafford, Derek Carr just ahead of him, and then Tua and Jared Goff there. You can look at this two ways. You can look at it, it's very scheme-based, where it's very easy reads, quick get it out, first read, let's roll. You can look at it, a lot of pressure. The quarterback has to get rid of it soon. I think I would probably use the latter there for the first three. These two have actually been beneficial of scheme, getting the ball out of their hands quickly. And I want you to get ready for a lot of screens against the Texans in Week 15. But that shouldn't come as a surprise because the Dolphins already run some of the most screens in the entire National Football League. And I make this joke, he's not a screen merchant, but he is 5th in total dropbacks this year in terms of screens. And the fact that this is even crazy to think about, by the way, because, well, guess what, folks? He missed, 4 games this season? So the fact that he is 65 total dropbacks, 5th, which is a lot considering he has missed 4 games. And the dropback percentage on screens are 18.3%, first by a pretty wide margin. That should come to no surprise because, well, if he played 4 more games, he would probably have the most dropbacks and screens. Mike McDaniel in this offense utilizes the screens, whether it's that little in-to-out move with Devon Achane, whether it's just a quick pop pass to Jonnu Smith or Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. Tua Tagovailoa also, by the way, leads the NFL in touchdowns on screen passes with 6. And once again, I want to showcase how crazy it is that Tua is 5th in overall dropbacks, number 1 in dropback percentage, and number 1 in touchdowns when it comes to the screen games because he's missed 4 games. So the volume that the Dolphins offense runs screens at is at an all-time high. And it was even higher this past week against the New York Jets. On Sunday, they called 10 screens against New York. That was 20.8% of Tua's dropbacks, which is 2% higher than his season average of 18.3%. So Mike McDaniel, I don't know what it is. If they don't trust the offensive line, they see something in the game plan or the schemes, they run a lot of screens. And it's what agitates me when the Dolphins get inside the 10-yard line, inside the red zone. It feels like it's either a screen pass or a gadget run play because they don't feel like they can run north-south, or if they don't trust Tua to make the decision in reads. He looked pretty good on that 10-yard touchdown pass to Jonnu Smith in overtime. All I know is that the Dolphins are going to run a lot of screens against the Texans this week, and I want the fans to be aware that that is coming because, 1, they are probably the most screen-heavy team in the NFL, and 2, when you're down your top 2 offensive tackles and Austin Jackson and Terron Armstead, it's going to happen even more. All right, last piece of injury news before we get out of here on today's episode. D. Eskridge is probably not going to play. He's been on the 53-man. He's been healthy and active. It really depends on where the Dolphins feel their special teams unit is. But Mike McDaniel did note no IR stint is likely for D. Eskridge. And listen, I get it. He's your backup returner, but Malik Washington was big time yesterday, and we got on his case and on his ass for muffing that punt against the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving, which kind of set the beginning of that game into a tailspin. But he was big time yesterday. He had a couple of nice punt returns, a couple of good decisions, returning it out of the end zone as well. And in that final minute of the game, when the Dolphins went down by 3, Malik Washington had an excellent return where he trucked the kicker and got out to the 45-yard line of Miami, which allowed the Dolphins only needing about 15, 20 yards to get into field goal range for Jason Sanders to send the game to overtime when they had no timeouts and 50 seconds to work with. Malik Washington was big time, and I think he still is a good special teams player, just that really bad moment against the Green Bay Packers. All right, that will do it for today's show. Make sure you do subscribe. Like I said off the top, we're in a sub battle this week against Texans today. We'll be having an update every day this week, so make sure you hit that sub button. I'll see you tomorrow with a live show. Go Fins.